good way to start this, since we have English translations of both their works present with us, is to ask them to read for 5 minutes each, so that you'll get a sense of what we're talking about when we start discussing their work, their processes, and what makes them crime writers. So, Clara, would you like to start?
Okay. If you don't say bad words, yes. The Game of Prejudice. They say love only lasts 2 years. Dear God, how many novels must there be in the world that begin with this sentence? I'm guessing hundreds or thousands. I think this is why I feel so ridiculous. I didn't quite know why I was coming back to you. I looked you up in my sales contacts, shrink, not wanting to acknowledge how I needed you again. I must admit that your advice helped me once. As a matter of fact, here I am, writing the story of my life. This time around, however, it's a lazy beginning. I'm mad at you. Well, okay, I'm mad at myself. Hugo is gone, and I come back to you with the same kind of faith with which one goes to a quake to get rid for word. I come back to you to find refuge in your coffee shop therapy. This will be simple, Ada. I tell myself before I tell you. You'll meet Dad with your psychologist. You'll enjoy a nice cup of coffee, and she will suggest you write down this episode of your life, because that is what she does, magic, and nothing else. How could I ever think it could be that simple? Worst of all, I think I might know why you haven't responded to my cry for help the same way you did the first time. I have tried to convince you that love only lasts 2 years because I had read it in a website of women. Until hormones do spark was the detail of the article, and it was based on some scientific study. I think that it was Italian. I had stood in front of you on the edge of a depression with big purple bags under my eyes and a desperate need for your help, and, of course, I have tried to convince you that everything was all right, just a matter of hormones, of 2 years. And then you have puzzled me one more time. I tell you my problem, I tell you I need you, well, okay. Truth be told, I try to convince you that I don't need you that too much. And you, instead of making it easy, you tell me that I'm not ready for your help, that I'm not ready. I don't do magic, Clara. You tell me I can only help you move on once you decide that you want to move on. And I get the feeling that you don't even know what your problem is. Now, let's do this. This is the beginning of the story, because Ada is a private detective, a bit mad private detective that needs a lot of help. So when she's trying to discover who has killed a lot of boys, she's going to the psychologist for make her life a bit better. And if you let me, I want to read the end part of the first chapter that is nearest to the crime novel. We got back home around 8 o'clock in the evening that day, after driving on narrow, twisty roads for over 500 kilometers, from Seville to Granada, via Córdoba and Jaén. Quite a ride, huh? Those hours tasted like glory and left me exhausted. We had dinner, cuddled a bit on the sofa, and went to the dairy. Hugo fell asleep instantly. but as much as I tried, I couldn't even flirt with Morpheus. I decided to get out of bed and turn on the computer to select some pictures and get ready for my next articles. As you know, I write articles of motorcycle tourists all over Spain for the Varios magazine. I write about good twisty roads, magical landscapes, interesting destinations, or simply peculiar places where to have coffee. On that occasion, the topic was 12 months around cemeteries. I had had a blast doing Equatorians during my previous travels, and selecting the pictures brought back really good memories. Good memories and also a surprise, because I had barely spent 1 hour browsing the folders on my computer when I found something I thought I had seen before. It was a picture with a very particular tombstone. It was shiny green, with a little daisy bouquets on the corners and an inscription in silver letters. Where have you seen this before, Ada? I wonder out loud. I went back to the beginning and reopened every single folder I had just browsed. I went through the cemeteries in Extremadura, Andalusia, and Asturias, and I found it in Asturias. Had it not been because the tombstones around it were so different, I could have sworn the picture had been put in that folder by mistake. They looked identical, the granite, the daisies, the inscriptions, the words that gave me goosebumps when I read them aloud. The best smell is bread, the best savior, salt, the best love, that of children. Graham Greene.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. For me, it's really a pleasure to be here. And I want to thank you, especially Alessandra and all the Crime Festival staff, Mita in particular, and Clara for being here. It's really a privilege to be here, so thank you very much. I'm going to read you the first chapter of the book, this book called The Night of the Panthers. Just to try to let you understand better, it's like, do you know that novel called The Godfather, or the movie? Yeah. It's more or less something like that, but set in a police environment. So the criminals actually are the cops, and vice versa. And it begins like this. The war had started. That was Irene Piscitelli thought, as soon as she saw the 3 corpses in the Arga, rags in their mouth to stop them from screaming, and a bullet in the back of each man's neck. But there was something else that drew her attention. All 3 had their hands cut off. From the amount of blood on the floor, it was clear they had been cut off while the victims were still alive. A fairly explicit message: stop stealing it from us. Do you have any idea what happened? Captain Anthony Valer asked this woman, who looked more like a model than a police officer. Of course she had an idea, because in spite of her deceptive appearance and her youth, Irene was a high-ranking officer in the National Crime Bureau. She had been sent especially from Rome to try to stop this war. Apparently, she had arrived too late. How many people know about this? She asked, ignoring her colleague's question. Only a few. The officers who got the call, me, and that's it. I held off calling a forensic, as you said, as you asked. Good, because this is a very delicate matter. I must ask you to order your men to forget all about this homicide and not to talk about it with anyone. especially not reporters. The National Crime Bureau will take over from here, but it's a matter of national security. If this gets out to the media, we're all in deep shit, especially you and me. Very was about to reply when Irene's cell phone started ringing. He took advantage to go outside and tell his people to keep their mouths shut about the case and get ready to be counted. They have arrested Mazzeo, Irene said as soon as Very came back into the hangar. What? He said in shock. They've arrested your protege, Biagio Mazzeo. I advise you to go to see what's happening. After a few moments of surprise, Very obeyed, leaving her alone. Irene didn't pay much attention to the scene of the crime. She didn't need. She knew perfectly well who the victims were and who the executioner. On both sides, member of the Calabrian Mafia, the Drangheta, the murdered men, emissaries from the south, the killers, hitmen from the north. All men of honor who belonged to the same organization, but with different ideas about how the business should be divided up, and who was in charge of whom. She had all that information because one of the men on the ground was her informer. It was she who had persuaded him to come to the meeting, guaranteeing for him safety. Now he was dead, and she felt the weight of it pressing on her heart. You can't allow yourself to feel guilty now, she told herself, because the hardest part was still to come, bringing her superiors up to date, admitting defeat. She dialed a number on her cell phone. Hello? A man's voice replied. It's me. I got here too late. It's already started. How many? 3. Their yarns were cut off and taken away. Shit. And your man? Gone. Damn. You have to stop them, Piscitelli. Now. She raised an eyebrow. There's one small problem. The man we choose, Mazzeo, precisely, just been arrested. Mazzeo. Yeah. He's at the headquarters right now, being questioned. Fuck. Think of something, but we need him. And we need him now. We have to stop them before it's too late. It may already be too late, she thought. Bury everything and get Mazzeo out. It won't be easy. Find a way and do it. They all say you're the best, don't they? Prove it. Irene Piscitelli rang off and stood there staring down at the corpse for a few moments. One of the officers she had brought with her from Rome called her over. The team's arriving, she said. Get rid of the bodies and clean up. I had to rush to the headquarters. But when you're finished, burn everything. She got it on a Mark BMW and told the driver she was in a hurry. She knew perfectly well that if they didn't move fast, they wouldn't be dealing with 3 corpses, but 300. Biagio Mazzeo, she thought, as the car sped out of the industrial zone. I really hope you are as good as they say you are.
Clara, I was thinking just now that if in a crime novel, the ultimate thing that you can do to somebody else is to kill them. In a vampire novel, the ultimate thing that you can do to someone is give them eternal life by biting them. Yeah? So actually when yesterday when you were talking about how you're not really a crime writer, is it just the dark side that attracts you? The dark side of human nature?
Yes, I feel, yesterday I said to him that For me, the crime storyline is the perfect excuse to introduce in my novels a lot of things I enjoy a lot. For me, death is something always must be in my novels. Why? Because death in all their faces attacks to me a lot. So murders are an interesting phase of death that allow me to move the characters of my novels for many ways. So while Ada is solving a crime, she's traveling by motorbike for Spain, or she's working when a friend of her needs her help in a bar, or she's helping a good friend to live her life alone without her husband who died 20 years ago. And this friend still is in love with his husband. And with all these parallel stories, I enjoy making a lot of full of plot pages, full of violence pages, full of death pages, because these are I think this is the genre that permits me, that allow me to use the extremes of reality, the more sweet thing, and in the same page the worst thing in the world. So this, yes, it is an excuse for me, the noir genre.
In the first paragraph of your novel, 3 people are dead. They have bled to death because 6 hands have been cut off and taken away. 1 person is already arrested, and the other investigating officer is obviously in the control of someone else who is running her. So the first 3 pages of your novel are packed literally with kind of like dense action, and obviously you don't have time to investigate the general sort of joys of the dark side. So how do you plan it like that? Do you say, how can I get that big powerful punch in the first scene?
Got it. Yes, actually, the rhythm is very well, very fast-paced. I mean, it's not only on the 3 pages. This is actually the most slowly, because things get messy actually. So Biagio Mazzeo is the police officer, is like a detective chief inspector, who is from above, so from the higher police officer. Is going to stop this kind of war between the mafia from the south and the new mafia from the north in Italy. So it's like being in the middle of this kind of a war in the underworld of crime. So yeah, the rhythm it's very cinematographic in a way. It's like actually a movie. It's also the language, the style. Must be, very, very fast, very speaking with images and dialogue, less description, so very, very fast. That's why I want to draw the reader directly, instantaneously, right away inside the story and never let him go.
I think it's interesting that you use the word cinematographic or because that tells cinema is generally an external medium. It can only capture what the face or the body allows of the spirit or the mind out onto the surfaces. But your work, Clara, seems to be, for instance, take that first line of your novel, love never lasts more than 2 years. This is already a line that is leading us into the person. You're going into the mind of the person. And almost everything, I suspect, from the tonality of the rest of what you read, is an investigation inwards, even as your heroine gets onto her motorbike and drives outwards.
Yes and no. I think the first person in novel, it's when you pretend to write in first person, a novel, you find that the only view you have is the view of the main character. So the reader only can to know what the main character knows, and this was a thing I did thought at first, and that it gave me a lot of problems. But I think the way Ada lives the investigation, the criminal investigation, is very out of her, because she's always doing things. She explained to you all the scenarios where she walks, all the things that she finds, and in a fast way. But if I want to, you as readers, go into the brain of Ada, I need Ada explain to you something. Yes, algunas cosas.
I think when you use that first person, you are allowed to do nuance and detail.
Yes,
yeah?
yes.
Whereas if you're using the third person, then it can only be, she was angry. But if you're doing, like, for instance, then you say,
yes.
I felt a hint of anger, but I could also see in myself. And you can play with it a lot more.
Yes, if I had a serial killer, I can't pretend to explain to you how my serial killer thinks, because Ada can't know it unless the serial killer tells her. But I don't like this way. I don't like the classic noir where you find all the explanation at the end of the book. No, I want the reader feel the same I feel when I'm writing. So I want the reader feel that and what was the reason for this? Why the killer did this? So I don't know how to explain the sensation, but it's like for me it's a bit difficult to explain how a serial killer has been doing a lot of bad things for a lot of years, and I want you as readers feel the same, and only giving you an open explanation, and you refill the rest.
So that's kind of like filling in the gaps, literally. When the things that you leave for the reader to come into the book and participate in the storytelling, be part of the story. So I'm wondering, Piergiorgio. Yeah, I love that name. I'm Geronimo myself. Okay, so one of the things that one always hears about writing is that it's a solitary craft. That the writer is alone with his computer and he faces the wall of the blank page and now must take it over and inscribe it. How does it work to work in a collective?
It's a very different dimension. I mean, I used to write individually, and also I'm part of a collective. It's like more an experiment of a writing group. And actually we are like now in 5, but we used to write also in 10 people. So, 10 minds to coordinate and to agree with. It's very a long process in a way, but very satisfying, because you can immerse yourself in the point of view of other people, so this enrich the story, enrich the character. You can really go deeper in the depth of the characters. So it's very particular. It's not simple, I have to admit that, but it's a very particular and satisfying experience, because the stories, all of us, all the writers, serve the story in a way. So you have to kill off your ego and doing the best for the story, so the best for the team. So no individuality, but the team and the story has to win. In order to do this, we stole the technique from the screenwriters. When we see a movie, actually that movie, more or less, is written by a lot of people, not just one screenwriter, but often like 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 and more. And the way to do it is like all the group decide what to write about. So what's the storyline will be, discuss each other what the story is about, which are the characters, describe the characters, and once everyone in the group has a clear view of the scenario, we can decide to write a plot. So we divided the plot in a point, in scenes actually, very detailed. And to each one of us, we give that scene. For example, I got the scene 1, the scene 3, and so on. Basically, and mostly, the scenes is related to the characters. So, for example, I got the detective, and I write all the scenes about that detective. Another one may write about a serial killer or something like that. When we finished, we put all together all the scene, and there's one figure inside of the group called the editor that actually copy and try to organize everything. Also in a style meaning, so rewrite a little bit to try to have a solid story, very solid, to go home. So that's the process more or less. It's not so easy, but it's very interesting.
And can you live in London and work with a collective that is in Italy?
Yeah, it's more complicated actually. When in the first process we have to meet each other in a room. Otherwise, it cannot be. But once the first step is done, you can also Skype with your colleagues and stuff. And the last part of the process is to meet each other again in a room, see what we have done individually, and try to rebuild all the story together and uniformize also by the style and the writing.
Also, yesterday, Clara, when we were talking, you told me that you have color-coded characters in your books, that there are characters which have different colors. I'd like you to explore that a little, because I was fascinated by that.
Well, my first point when I decide to write a new novel is to let born the characters. For example, with Adelaide Saga, I decided that I didn't want a blue or red colored character. What does this mean? I think that most of characters of crime novels are red or blue. That means that red are very strong characters, very linear, dominant, very extroverted characters with the true always in the hand. So for me, this character maybe because maybe because the kind of writer I am, wasn't a great character for a crime novel. Blue characters are older characters, very gentle, obsessionated with the first step, and then the second step, and then the third step. Characters that needs to understand everything, and in a way so calm, so slowly. And I'm not in this way, and I wanted to be happy and to enjoy the writing of a noir novel. So I decided to create a yellow character, a disorder broken yellow character that could permit me to create a very unstable character. Ada is very positive, is very spontaneous, is very mad. It's a very disequilibrated character. So for me, to have this kind of character in a crime novel where you can find blood and very hard scenes and very, for me it was a very difficult thing to do. And I like difficult things. So I decided to build Ada like a yellow character, and when I had her, I decided to go to the street to know my character. So when I was having coffee, I was thinking, I'm sitting at a table, and the table is a bit chic. Okay, chic. How Ada feels with this situation? She supports it, or she stand up and look for another table, or if the streets is very full of people, where's the place where Ada walk? The more full place or the more empty. So for me, when I have a color character, like he has said, the most important thing is to know my character. So when a new character born, I go with him or with her or with them to the street, at home, to the bed, and I try to think what they are thinking. It's a bit different way of building.
Definitely. And I think you've got the 10-minute signal now. I'd like to open it to questions quickly. But just one last question to Piergiorgio, which is that, having dealt with the mafia, have there been any moments when you suddenly got a telephone call late in the night and said, "Hey, what do you think writing about us?"
What do you think? I'm in Italian and I live in London.
Go down this
Yeah. To be more safe, yeah. But actually you can be safe in any part of the world, because the Italian mafia, the Calabrian mafia actually are everywhere. They are trying to temper this mic as well. No, really, they are really everything, because where there's money, there's mafia in a way. And they are they're not like 30 years ago, 10 years ago. They are like more, they are growing as the business, as the economy is growing. So they are not like, they don't kill anymore so often as they used to be. Because if you kill someone, you capture attention, the attention of the police. So they are very smart about this. They don't kill in Italy. If they have to kill, they kill maybe in India or in Mexico.
That's very reassuring.
Yeah. Yeah, actually it's very creepy, because they really have are everywhere. Where there's money, there's mafia. They follow the business more than businessmen. They are graduated in that most prestigious university abroad, not in Italy. They invested their money of money laundering not in Italy, but in the new continents where the economy is very good. China, for example, India, USA, Australia, everywhere. For example, just a little example, there are more family-owned Drangheta in Germany now than in the Calabria, that is the county in Italy where they are. So it's like the globalization of the mafia now. It's like in every continent now. So it's very creepy this, and it's also very hard to fight this for the police officer, for the judges, because in the other countries sometimes police officers and judges, they don't know what they are dealing with. They are not so used to organized crime. They don't have like a organized crime squad to fight this phenomenon. So it's very hard to do it, to fight. And I guess that books and movies about that are very important because they are let grow the awareness on the people, on the viewer, on the readers about this problem. So it's better known, and you can also understand from some signals where the problem is, where the mafia is. If that restaurant is like actually a money launderer, if that hotel is financed by the mob, by the criminals, and so on.
Okay, I'm opening up we have 5 minutes now, so a couple of questions. The gentleman in the front, sir. Please keep your question brief and address it to one of the panelists.
Sure, address to the Piergiorgio. So this is in reference to your last point, the globalization of the mafia, and of course there are now some serials like Lilyhammer, which actually depict the globalization of the American mafia to lesser sort of greater extent. I was wondering whether also there's a certain stereotypification entering into the portrayal of the mafia, which makes it more challenging for you as an Italian writer, especially since Mario Puzo did his bit. So for you, what problems did you face? I'm reminded also sort of the very different treatment of crime in, say, Camilleri's work. And Montalbano is a very atypical sort of figure, quite different from the usual detective.
So thank you. How do you deal with stereotypification?
Actually, it's very difficult because the world now is not like it used to be before. There's no black and white. You can reveal the criminal is not like wearing some guns or holding some guns and stuff, or some Mephisto in the air, or some mask. Actually, now more criminals, a lot of them, they are wearing a suit. They are in the bank, not in the street. They are in the office. They are lawyers. They are judges, and so on. So it's very hard to identify them. And the way Camilleri does is different. It's like the old way. The cop is always good, and the criminal is always bad. In Italy now and in the world, actually, the two things are mixed each other, so you can't really identify and distinguish black from white. It's not like a lot way of gray, like it's all gray actually. And you have to be very careful, to be very smart to see the signals that.
Okay,
let's see.
I will take the second question.
So when you write about dark characters in first person, does it not scare you that you go too deep into it and you might, a lot of famous actors have also died trying to portray really dark characters. So does it sometimes affect you too much, and if yes, then how do you deal with it, the darker side of your mind?
Are you asking to me that if the first person writes and affects to me? Yes. Yes, I understand. you. Yes, the third novel of Ada has been a very hard novel for me because she has to look for a cadaver that has disappeared in a cemetery in Granada, while she's taking care about her very best friend who is very, very ill with cancer. So I wanted Ada had depression in the first middle of the book, but not saying directly. And when I have written about 100 pages, I began to feel myself very depressed because I spent 8-10 hours a day writing, maybe more, and in those hours, Ada and me, it's the same. And when I realized this, I felt, oh, I have to give myself 2 days for a rest, and then I follow. So yes, it's a bit it's like a Russian mountain.
Thank you very much. I'm so glad this is over. I thought it would be a very dangerous thing to deal with 2 writers from 2 different countries and 2 different languages. But I think we had a great time. Thank you so much. I apologize for any offense caused. Thank you very much. And go out and buy the books.